Kalvidam Mahad Ascharyam Raja Pratava Yad Raja Prakitestava Vasudeve Bhagavati Vasudeve Bhagavati Savamani Dridha Mati Savatmani Dridhamati Kalvidam Mahad Ascharya Yad Raja Prakitestava Vasudeve Bhagavati Savatmani Dridhamati Kalvidam Mahad Ascharya Yad Raja Prakitestava Vasudeve Bhagavati Savatmani Dridhamati Koditama Shashikya. Vidam Mahacharyam Vasudeva Bhagavati Savatmani Dridhamati. Messages? Vidam Mahacharyam Yad Raja Prakitestava Vasudeva Bhagavati Savatmani Dridhamati Kalu, indeed, idam, this, Mahat Ascharyam, great wonder, yet which Raja, influenced by the mode of passion, Prakrite, whose nature, Tava, of you, Vasudevi, in Lord Krishna, Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Safa Atmani, who is situated in pure goodness, Dhrida, firm, Mati, consciousness. Translation. Oh, Vritasara, demons are generally conducted by the mode of passion. Therefore, what a great wonder it is that although you are a demon, you've adopted the mentality of a devotee and have fixed your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is always situated in pure goodness. Responsibly, please. Oh, Vritasara, demons are generally conducted by the mode of passion. Therefore, what a great wonder it is that although you are a demon, you have adopted the mentality of a devotee and have fixed your mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, who is always situated in pure goodness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. King Indra wondered how Vritasura could have been elevated to the position of exalted devotee. As for Prahlad Maharaj, he was initiated by Narada Muni, and therefore it was possible for him to become a great devotee, although he was born in a family of demons. For Vritasura, however, Indra could not detect such causes. Therefore, he was struck with wonder that Vritasura was such an exalted devotee that he could fix his mind without deviation upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Vasudeva. Om Agana Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swabadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Vanchakalpatrubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Paditanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. So it does beg the question, when you read the purport, as to how it was that Ritasara became an exalted devotee. Prahlad Maharaj, we could see that because he had his spiritual master Narada Muni who initiated him, therefore that's understandable. But how did Ritasara become such an exalted devotee? In the previous life? Anything else? Yeah. Yeah. So obviously there was some previous connection with devotional service and Narada Muni from a past life, because he was cursed, wasn't he, by Parvati, because he was laughing at them in the midst of sages that were complete celibates. So and he accepted the curse, and at that time Narada Muni instructed him. Before that, he had some self-knowledge that was given to him in a seed form, and then, although it seemed like a curse, he came also with the benediction that he would become an exalted devotee. So it's kind of like one of those blessing curses, where it seems like a curse and it ends up being a blessing. In fact, he ends up being more blessed than linking Indra. So that's interesting, that don't just judge devotees by how they are externally. Try to understand the heart of the devotee. And if the intention of the devotee is good, Bhava Grahi Janardana is a name for Krishna. Bhava Grahi Janardana. And one time a man made a pot for Krishna, and he wasn't very good, actually. It took him a long time. You know, one of those spinning things. So he was trying to spin it, and it was going all wobbly. So he slowed it down and he was trying to fix it, and it looked terrible, you know. He put a little handle on it. And then another man was a really expert potter, and he just threw the clay on, just went like that, and he made the pot in less than a minute. And then he put his pot in front of Krishna as well. So Krishna was more pleased with the wonky pot, because the man had tried so it looked like it was a big mess. Krishna could understand, Bhava Grahi Janardana, this person really wants to please me. So you may look at somebody and think, look at him, he's a rubbish devotee. Look at the pots. Look at the way he does his books. Look at the way he wears his dhoti. But this devotee is really cool. He does 1,000 books a day. His dhoti is amazing. Look at his tilak. He's a really cool devotee. Let's go and get his association. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur explains that for a devotee that doesn't have much taste, then he'll only attend kirtan if there's the proper instruments, the proper musicians to play them, and a good singer who's got a voice like Neil Sedaka. Otherwise, he's not interested. But somebody that has a taste, just like if somebody's hungry, if you say there's prasadam now, if you're not very hungry, then you say, what is it? You may not bother going up. But if you've not eaten for 3 days, you've been so fired up on the marathon you forgot to eat, then as soon as it's prasadam, doesn't matter what it is, you're going to go up there and devour it if you have a very strong taste. Anyway, it's interesting to reflect in the pastime, and Rupa Goswami warns also, Drastais for Baba Janatya Vapasasta Dosha, Aprakritadam Hiabhakta Janashipashi, Ganganga Samna Kalabudba Defena Pankya, Brahmadravatam Abhagachati Niradamai. Just like the Ganges sometimes appears full of bubbles, foam, and mud, but actually those who are advanced in consciousness will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So simply the association of devotees, you may see some faults there, or some imperfections, or some inabilities. But if you can try to see the dedication of the devotee, the determination of the devotee, and try to appreciate the heart of the devotee. And then when we appreciate the devotee's hearts, then we can have a heart-to-heart connection, a deep relationship. And it's funny, as you go on in devotional life, you start looking at what your assets are, which are not very many. But you think, oh, well, I've got 5 silk dhotis. I'm doing well. I've got some Aramis aftershave. I'm in the big league here, you know. But really, your assets. Stand in front of the wallet to show you that's how successful you are. That's the score on the score sheet. We're also going out there to cultivate, and hopefully a few of the people that we join the marathon become lifelong buddies that we can cultivate now. We connect with them, then we keep in touch with them, and then we can slowly bring them around. We encourage them to start chanting, and bit by bit they start to come to the temple. Like Raghunath was telling me the other day, he met one lady that had a book. How long ago was it? Was it from Prabhupada Charan? It was a long time ago, right? Was it you that was telling me the story? Oh no, it was one of the street devotees. They'd met someone, and they'd got a book from a long time ago, and they'd carried on. Was it you? Yeah. What was the story?
When she was 16, she had outside Central Station, and she had the records he still plays.
Oh, that's what it was.
He's still listening, but she never really sort of read them. Always just liked devotees, and then but now she's gonna. It's all been there. It's like lying dormant, and now she's sort of gonna start reading things.
Taking interest. Yeah. So it's nice. I've been doing shops and businesses, so I get to know the people quite well. I've seen them for a long time now, so there's a relationship there. And they're not, wearing dhotis and chanting japa when I go around to see them. Or I was reading the book and I decided to put tilak on. You don't see that, but you do see that they're more open to accepting Krishna consciousness. It's a slow cultivation. They give a contribution, so they're engaging in seva. They're getting agyata sukriti. Unknowingly, they're acquiring piety. And by the purification, then they're able to understand more. So the ability to assimilate the information is based more upon your purity than upon your intellectual prowess. Intellectual prowess is being misunderstood in today's society as being intelligent, but real intelligence is how pure is your consciousness. So if you have some sukriti, some purity there, some piety, then you can start to grasp, wow, there's something in this. I want to implement this information. Shiva Ramaj explains that the blossoming of the hearing process is the ability to implement what you hear. You can hear a lot of stuff that goes in one ear and it goes out the other, but if you hear it and you implement it, then you know that your hearing process is starting to blossom. You're starting to, And if you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you keep forgetting and you keep doing the wrong thing over and over and over again, then it means the hearing process is not blossoming yet. And it's interesting how japa works, because the first stage is that you're chanting. Chanting is you're putting the energy out, but you're only able to hear with the soul. It's only when the soul becomes involved that you're actually able to connect with the sound vibration. So first is chanting, then comes the hearing, and then after the hearing, then comes the remembering. So when Krishna's saying, if you become conscious of me, it's not like, oh, I think I'm conscious of Krishna. I'm thinking of Krishna. I must be Krishna conscious. It's an evolution of consciousness where you go through the chanting stage, then your hearing starts to develop, and as you become absorbed, then you start to remember. Then Krishna starts to come in as a full-blown memory. And what Krishna is meaning when he says, if you become conscious of me, what he's really meaning is, if you become aware of my presence, if you're aware of Krishna's presence. So we get a chance to really experience that on Sankirtan, that you end up in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing to the right person, so often. Sometimes you go into a spot and you're not sure if the person's going to be in, and you just happen to be at the right time, and he's just there. And it's all up to Krishna. Whatever Krishna wants, Krishna's actually in control, which is a great stress reliever, actually. You know, the next time you go down to the GP for antidepressant tablets, and he opens the cupboard and he goes, "Well, we've got antibiotics, we've got antidepressants, or we've got this one here. This is called the Krishna's in control bottle. You take one of those, and then you go away thinking, oh, I'm not God. Krishna's God. Wow, that's a big relief. I don't have to worry about so much then. I just have to find out what the plan is and go with it. Wow, what a relief, you know. That would reduce a lot of stress. In fact, Kadamba Karma was just saying that what causes a lot of stress in japa is because we're so much trying to control the japa. And it causes so much stress. And he says, Rupa Goswami Tunde Tadavini, Krishna is dancing on my tongue. He said, meditate on that. That you're just allowing Krishna to be the doer, to dance on your tongue, to show his presence, experience Krishna's presence. So that's what eventually matures. Krishna consciousness matures to the point where you have a full-blown awareness of Krishna's presence all the time. It's very much like that I remember I was with Prabhupada Vani, and he was sitting in Kusum Sarovar, and he said to me, I really like it here. I just get the feeling Krishna's going to come walking around the corner any minute. Which I thought was nice, you know. So if you could be like that on Sankirtan, then Krishna's going to make an arrangement for me any minute, you know. I'm waiting for that. I'm not waiting for a huge score or a big recognition. I'm just waiting to experience Krishna's presence. And once that happens, once that magic's there, then all kinds of amazing things can happen. Shyamasundar was saying that very much in the early days, they were very much experiencing Krishna's intervention all the time. One time they didn't have enough Lakshmi for paying the rent. And they were just minding their business, walking up the street. Nobody else was on the street. And over a wooden fence, $100 bill just blew over. And then another one. And then another one. And then another one. And they were just running around Himalaya, collecting all these $100 bills. Didn't say anything in the paper. You know, like there'd been an explosion in a bank up the road. Or someone had crashed with a boot full of $100 bills. They just came from nowhere, collected them up. They had enough for their rent and a few other things as well. So if we put ourselves in that condition where we're depending on Krishna, and then we just allow Krishna to work his magic, and then we really do experience Krishna's presence. And it's interesting, isn't it, to meditate on that Krishna is so much wanting to show us his presence, to show us that he's there. He so much wants it. He wants it more than we do. That's why he's made this whole arrangement that we're now in an international society for Krishna consciousness, set up by Srila Prabhupada on the order of Bhaktisiddhanta, who took up the mood from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, back to the Goswamis and Lord Chaitanya. And here we are, you know, it's like, wow, he must really, really want this to take place, you know. So let me not get in the way. Let me appreciate that there's a whole strategy unfolding. It's a universal, cosmological movement. We say the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but you know what we'll be saying in a few thousand years? The Intergalactic Society for Krishna Consciousness. Where did you go yesterday? I was on Mars. What was it like? A bit tough. And Mars then. Did you see the little green ones? Oh yeah, they're useless. How about you? I was at the moon. There was a space out on the moon. Where did you go? I went to the sun. I shouldn't have took my thermal long johns, I tell you. So that's when it becomes the intergalactic. And actually, the Srila Prabhupada said that his Guru Maharaj is on the moon, preaching on the moon now. So the taste of preaching is so great that the devotee, the Mahabhagavat, comes down to the Majjhima platform to experience the ecstasy of preaching Krishna consciousness. What to speak of the Nitya Siddhas? The Nitya Siddhas are coming down all the time because they can't resist it, because it's so much more exciting. I mean, in the spiritual world, you don't have Indra attacking everybody and Krishna lifting up Govardhan Hill. All the fun happens here in the material world. That's where everything's like, you know, touch and go. And, you know, everything's like so desperate and so intense. It's so much more dramatic. So they come here into the material world because this is where all the excitement is. You know, let's go and save the fallen souls. Let's take some risk. We know Krishna's there. We can feel his presence. Wow, let's really put this into practice, you know. So when they finish up on one planet, then they, okay, where else can we go? Lord Chaitanya wants it all over the universe. Okay, let's go and check out Venus. Any questions or comments? Yes.
This idea you're talking, like on Sankirtan or in Japa, just experiencing Krishna's presence and our relationship with Krishna. I was just wondering, especially this morning, I was thinking this, like how much we know we don't approach Krishna directly. We approach Krishna through the spiritual master, through the Guru Parampara. But yet we still pray to Krishna directly when we're chanting. They still we're encouraged, it almost seems, to pray to Krishna directly, same with Sankirtan. So if you could maybe explain, you go through someone, but also you go direct.
Okay, so to clarify that, if I understand it correctly, we're trying to become conscious of Krishna's presence, but at the same time, we don't want to jump over the head of the spiritual master and do that independently of him. So, Kadamba Maharaj is encouraging us to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. He says, how can we think of approaching Radha and Krishna without a prayer to Lord Chaitanya? And then how can we think of approaching Lord Chaitanya without a prayer to Lord Nityananda? And how can we think of approaching Lord Nityananda without a prayer to our spiritual master? So, so does that seem a contradiction? So on the one hand, you're being encouraged to approach your spiritual master. Of course, when you approach your spiritual master, he's in the presence of Krishna. And if you're understanding it properly, any mercy that you're getting, any experience that Krishna is present that you're getting, is because of the prayers of your spiritual master, because he's praying on your behalf, and because he's rubbing shoulders. That's the bona fide spiritual master. He's so much in contact with Krishna that if he says to Krishna, "Oh, my little disciple Pancha, he's doing bhakti distribution right now. Can you give him a hand?" You know. And I personally experienced, Sri Ramaj once told his disciples to send him an email once a month just to give him an update. And I always find after my update for a few days, then I feel like Krishna's attention has been drawn to me, you know, because I've made a connection with Sri Ramraj and he's thinking of Krishna all the time, so that he's thinking about me and he's thinking about Krishna. Maybe he's offering a special prayer for me, and then Krishna's more inclined, you know. See, if you pray to Krishna, then he may or he may not fulfill your prayer. But if you pray to Krishna for somebody else, then there's much more chance. There's a book called Positive Thinking. It's all about praying, and they say that when you're praying for somebody, God is even more inclined to fulfill your prayers because it's not for you, it's for somebody else, you know. So the spiritual master is like that. In one sense, he's home and dry. Like Kadamba Maharaj was saying, he knows he's going back. He's got no doubts that he'll be with Krishna soon, you know. So his concern now is, well, but what about my disciples, you know? I want them to come back. So you could say it's like a dynamic, it's a dynamic situation. You want to be with the queen, well, not the queen now, the king. Well, has he got a queen as well? I suppose he got a queen. And you're thinking, well, I know this person who's really close to the king. So if I hang out with him, then the next time they have a dinner party, the king's friend may invite me, and then I can get to see the king, you know.
One interesting purport in Bhagavad Gita, which is 1875 purport. Vyasa was the spiritual master of Sanjaya, and Sanjaya admits that it was by Vyasa's mercy that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly, but through the medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. So it's like two things are simultaneously. It is as Adhoksaja Prabhu already been explaining, it's simultaneously direct, but we're having direct experience because of mercy of spiritual master. And without the mercy of spiritual master, we cannot have a direct experience of Krishna.
Yeah. And also Kadamba Maharaj was saying in that book, I mean, I've been reading that book a lot, actually. I read it every morning now for months. He's saying, he makes the same point also there, that We experience Krishna's presence by the mercy of. Oh yeah, and also he's saying, when we're chanting, he says that's our chance to be alone with Krishna. So it's very intimate at the same time. So it's like the spiritual master opens the door and says, Krishna's in there. Then he closes the door, then it's you and Krishna. It's just you and Krishna. And he says, sometimes we're in the middle of a busy day and we have so much to do and we just need to be alone with Krishna. So we just pick up our bead bag and we go and chant one round. We just be alone with Krishna, you know. And there's a famous prayer by one religious teacher. He says, I have so much to do today that I'm going to have to spend another hour on my knees. So he's thinking, I've got so much to do. Okay, I'm going to need extra strength for that. So I'm going to need to chant an extra 8 rounds or chant or pray an extra hour on his knees, you know. So by the mercy of the spiritual master, that is the mercy of the spiritual master, that he allows you to enter into this intimate relationship with Krishna. That is what's going on, you know. And of course, as you become aware of Krishna's presence, you become aware of who you are. And then you become aware of who your spiritual master is as well. Everything starts to become clear. Oh, okay. So that's what's actually going on, you know. And I thought what was really interesting as well, I was chanting the other day, and Kandama Maharaj made this point. It was really mulling in the back of my mind. Was what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. He says there is nothing in this world but the jiva and the holy name. That's it. Everything else is just whizzing by. It's just some manifestation of the material energy, but it's just the jiva and the holy name. They're the only things of any substance. So when you're chanting, it's nice to meditate on that I need to just disengage now. I need to pull every other plug out, and I just want to connect. It's just the jiva and the holy name. That's all it is. There's nothing else to be concerned about or worry about, not now. I just need to make the connection. Then once the connection is there, then bring it all on. I'll try and deal with anything and everything, you know. Another thing which is also contradictory is that you feel closer to the spiritual master in his separation than you do in his presence, because the Vani is more powerful than the Vapu, you know. So I've experienced that myself, having had some spiritual masters that have left, but Srila Prabhupada has always been there in the Vani, in his books, you know. And I remember when it happened to me the first time, and the devotees from UKLM, which are all the Indian devotees, they all gathered around me, and I was in the Prashadam room at the manor, and I was a bit kind of, I wasn't sure, you know. It just been announced that day that our spiritual master had left, and he'd read this letter out to everybody. So I was like a bit shook up, you know. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And they gathered around me in this like semicircle, and they said, always take shelter of the process. Never give up the process of Krishna consciousness. It was like a pivotal time, because I realized I still had Prabhupada in his books. I still had the holy name. I still had my devotional service. The deities were still there. Everything was still there, you know. So Srila Prabhupada is present in his books, and he's present also in the distribution of his books. And Shiva Ramaj was saying that one of his disciples now is initiating, and I can't remember what his name is right now, forgive me, but he's initiating now in the presence of Shiva Ramaj, and he shared a story that this devotee had told him. He'd gone to a center where Shiva Ramaj had asked him to try and start a center, and it was very, very tough. They were thinking of giving up. They'd been trying, and they were getting nowhere at all. So they were thinking, okay, this is just too much. Maybe we need to go somewhere else. This is just a waste of time. And then this one approached them. I'm not sure where, I think it was at the place that they were staying. And she said, she came in contact with them anyway, and as soon as she saw the books and opened them, she said, this man appeared in my dream. This Indian gentleman appeared in my dream. And he told me, there are some spiritual people in the town, and I want you to go, and I want you to help them. So Shiva Ramaj was saying, Srila Prabhupada is watching over what's going on, and he's sending help. He's as much involved now as he ever was in the spreading of Krishna consciousness and in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we can connect with that dialogue through his books, through the distribution of his books. and through helping with the temples and everything else that's going on to help spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So that's interesting, isn't it? Well, when I first joined in '82, I was on the Bhakti program, and halfway through it, 6 weeks through it, they said, back to Tony. Bit of an emergency. We're £1 million in debt. Juban going up and helping Balabhadra Prabhu. He's got a centre in Sochi Street, and you can finish the Bhakti program after the marathon. So I was shaking cans for a month in Glasgow and places like that. And it was really austere. And I'd only been underway for 6 weeks, and we had to stand out all day in the cold. And when your can filled, you put it in your pocket, and your pocket was like down here. We had these coats that Balabhadra brought us, and at the end of the marathon, and it wasn't notes in those days, it was all like real big coins, you know. And then we had another one, you know. Then sometimes you had 2 cans filled, and you were on the 3rd can, and you were walking around like that. And it was super, super austere. I knew Krishna consciousness was going to be a bit tough. I didn't realize it was going to be this tough, you know. And I was thinking, anyway, I had a dream that night. Srila Prabhupada was in the dream, and he was being interviewed, and he was saying, even the old men are like children in today's society. And then he went off, and all the people were taking photographs, and they were holding for, oh, wow, that's amazing, you know. But that day when I went out, Prabhupada Day, it was like, you know, when you see this Monty Python thing where they take the sky out in someone's face. It was like that. It was Srila Prabhupada, and I could feel his presence like anything. It was just an amazing day. It was like he was watching over me. I felt so safe, and it was so kind of, I felt very protected, and like I just wanted to stay here forever, you know, doing this, because it was so pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. So it was like a vivid message to me that, you know, you can think you're safe in your comfort zone, hiding behind a shed somewhere or trying to do something. But actually, if you just go out onto the front line and you go into the eye of the storm, that's where you feel real protection, real shelter. It's actually the real comfort zone. Shishi Konditai Maya Poshashi Ki Jai. Because you know you're doing what's wanted, you know Prabhupada is pleased, so then everything's okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Piparu.
Hi Krishna, thank you. I'm just wondering from, you know, when we're standing on the streets and we're wanting to approach people, what exactly is like the mood, the prayer, the feeling?
It's happiness. That's what it is. And it's referred to, Kanama Karamash refers to it, he says, one can only chant properly if he's empowered by the strength of happiness. And it's an austerity, actually. Satisfaction is an austerity of the mind. So we generally think that being unhappy is an austerity, but being happy is an austerity. And one time Srila Prabhupada saw a devotee, and he said, the devotee looked a bit miserable, and he said, I order you, be happy. And the devotee said, Jai Srila Prabhupada. So that's what you have to tell yourself. When you're out there and you're feeling down. I remember one time, this guy was like, I was going like that, and he was going like that. So this guy's a bit of a case. And then I was going like that, and he was going like that. So I was going to go over and say, what's your problem, pal? You know? I went over, and he looked really miserable, you know? And then I realized it was my reflection. And then I realized why nobody was stopping, you know? It was like a really like fried look on his face, you know? I was thinking, what's his problem? He looks really miserable. And then I realized it was me, you know? So the first thing you've got to do on Sankirtan is engage yourself. You're not going to be able to engage anybody until you engage yourself. And engaging yourself means being happy. You've got to find the happy button and press it. Everyone's got a happy button, actually, and everyone's got a sad button. And believe it or not, you can be in the Nazi camp, and all your friends can be dead because they've been tortured, and you can press the happy button. Although you'd think, well, there's absolutely no reason why I need to press the happy button. I'm completely justified. But if you press the unhappy button in a concentration camp back in the Second World War, then you died. That's what he noticed. Viktor Frankl noticed everyone that went unhappy died not long after. So if you want to stay alive in Krishna consciousness, stay happy. And if you see someone that's miserable and they're dragging, you know, and they're looking down in the dumps, then try and encourage them, try and cheer them up, you know. And if it's yourself, then try and encourage yourself and cheer yourself up. Always look on the bright side of your life. It doesn't matter what side of the street you're on, you know. One devotee was saying, this side of the street, I'm meeting all these really miserable people. He said, how about you? He said, they're all really happy on my side. He said, can we change? So he went on my side, went on his side. I said, what's it? He came to me an hour later. He said, what's it like? I said, they're all happy on this side. He said, oh, that's weird. All the miserable ones will come over onto my side of the road now. They're all walking on my side, you know. So it's not by changing the side of the street. It's just by looking on the right side of life, you know. And you can create your own energy, you see. If you're in a happy energy, then people want that. That's what people are out there looking for today in Buchanan Street. What they want is happiness. And they're trying to buy it, or wear it, or smell it, or smoke it. No, they want that happiness. And you come along, and you've got it. You've got what they want. They're all looking for it, and you've got it. And you know you've got it, because you've smelt, smoked, ate, and done everything for the happiness. And this is the only place that you've found it, you know. And if you're convinced of that, then you're realizing you guys are wasting your time, you know. You need to connect with real happiness. And I'm experiencing it myself, you know. Shiva Ramaji got so fired up on Sankirtan that he felt so happy. He thought, I wonder if I can do this without speaking. So he went up to somebody, he smiled at them. He gave him a book, and he went and banged his bag, you know, with the change. And the person just gives him some money, you know, and say a word. Oh, what's your lines? What are you saying on Sankirtan? It's not what you're saying, it's how happy are you on Sankirtan? What's making you happy? How are you happy? How can you make yourself happy? How can you make yourself happy? Well, you make yourself happy by trying to be happy even though you're not. And then after a while, you do start feeling happy. Because that's your nature, that's your original nature. So if you're unhappy, then you know you're not in your original nature. So it may seem a bit false at first. So you just cheer up anyway, and you just be happy. And then you start to feel it, and it's like, okay, yeah, okay, I am actually happy now. And usually if you're trying to do that, Krishna will send somebody along to make you happy. The person will be so into it, he'll appreciate it so much, then suddenly you're happy, your happy level goes right up. And then you're totally happy. And you're not approaching people thinking, oh no, if he doesn't help, I'm going to get unhappy. And then you become afraid, and there's fear and there's attachment. But you're just so happy that whatever they're going to do, whether they take or they don't take, you're just going to be so happy anyway, you know. You've connected with that. And that's going to be your strength. You're going to be eager, enthusiastic, happy, and not dependent upon this happening or that happening or the next thing happening, but you're just going to be like that anyway. Then you're approaching unconditional. That's unconditional. There's no condition. You're just going to be happy anyway. And it's in power, and it's in austerity as well. So it's not that it's, you know, people are thinking that when you can be happy when everything's easy and there's no problems, but that's not what happiness is. That's like kind of relief. And it means your happiness is reactional. It's dependent upon the environment. I will be happy if that guy stops playing his bagpipes. I'm going to stick a dart in it as I go past, so the thing goes. I've thought that a few times. And you can't get your nose out of it. Or I'll be happy when the Salvation Army move 500 feet up the road, or I'll be happy when someone gives me 50. Then I'll be happy. That's reactional. But proactive happiness is, I am just so happy, whatever. And that's an austerity. You have to be quite controlled and very self-assertive and just very strong in character. You have to own yourself. Stephen Covey calls it owning yourself. He says a person cannot become independent and then interdependent until he owns himself. That means that you're going to be proactive in your values, regardless of what's going on around you. Like Srila Prabhupada was, you know. He had his mission, and one of his godbrothers said, this is ludicrous. And Prabhupada said, it is never ludicrous to follow the instruction of the spiritual master. And Mahaprabhu was saying, as soon as he stepped on the Jaladuta, he was already a success, because he'd already decided he was going to follow his spiritual master's instruction. Jai Iskon Guru Vrinda ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's book distribution marathon ki jai. Gaura Premanandi Haribol.
His Grace Adhoksaja Krishna Prabhu ki.
All of you ki jai, very much so.